Hey guys, Dan here from Stampede Immersive and founder of Beyond Stereo, the Dolby Atmos podcast. This is my space. This is my studio that I've sort of built from the ground up. I'm very proud of it. I've spent many years now building this up, tweaking and adding equipment, and it's sort of my hub for everything creative that I do. So whether I'm mixing a movie, short films or feature films, music, I do a lot of recording in here. Editing and grading and all that fun stuff as well, visual effects, even just organizing my business. Everything is done really in this room. So I just wanted to show you a little bit of what I have in here and how it sort of works. And hopefully it's sort of eye-opening and helpful for you guys to sort of get a feel for what it's like to work in here with Stampede Immersive, and just officially welcome you to my studio. So I hope you enjoy. Alright, firstly, here's my rack. This is sort of my main hub. I've got a Furman power conditioner, and essentially it runs everything in this rack. So we've got the power for the Mac Studio. It's an M2 Max. I do have it in a Rack Max Studio as well. Next is my interfaces. I'm running a Focusrite 18920 with an ADA A200 from Behringer, running through ADAT. A lot of the time I'm also running headphones for when I'm recording, so I've got a little headphone amp at the bottom there as well. Alright, on top here I've got my Icon iKeyboard X, which is just a MIDI controller that I use to sort of talk to all my VSTs and everything when I'm playing. It's just good to have that when I'm composing or doing anything like that for scores and stuff. I definitely use that. So these two Furman power conditioners here, they are basically running all the speakers. They're both the same sort of unit, an M10XE, and the top one there runs 5.1, so it's the first 6 speakers, my LCR, 2 surrounds, and subwoofer. The bottom one powers every other speaker, so we've got 14 speakers in here. If I'm only working in 5.1, I don't really need everything powered all at once. This little rack here, this is how I'm sort of getting all my microphones in. I've just got a single preamp here that I like to use. It's a WA73 warm audio with the EQ there, and it's great. I love it. I use it pretty much all the time. It's kind of my golden pre. Sometimes I'm running it quite hot, and sometimes I'm just absolutely running it totally clean, and it works for the majority of my needs. Below that, I've got the WA76 as well. But yeah, honestly, it's really just while I'm tracking. I'm not really mixing with it at all. Now above that, what's happening with this patch bay? This is kind of interesting. So essentially what's happening is at the back of my computer rig here, at the back of this, my interfaces have got a loom coming from all the outputs and inputs going into a little patch bay at the back of this rack. I can't show you because it's kind of hard to get in there, but essentially what's happening is, so the outputs are all sort of coming through these looms and going straight to this patch bay here. Now they can patch in and out because sometimes I'll take that rack with me to another facility to check with my rig. The reason for that is so that I have all my plugins, all my sessions, all my hard drives, everything working as I have it in here, and I can just plug in through these TRS connections into their rig and play on their system. So that's really, really easy and efficient. I don't always have to do that. Sometimes I'm just taking a hard drive, but that is why I have it set up like that. The inputs here though, that second bay, which is sort of this one here, that one is my inputs. So right now I'm just using 2 inputs, and it is coming from the 73. I've got the output of the 73, which is what's going on over here. The output of the 73 goes into a mult, and then splits out to 3 different places that I can do it all at once. So if you can sort of see that, it's a little bit tricky, but so the output of the mic pre goes into a mult, and one goes straight to the first channel there to record. One goes into the warm audio 76, and then to channel 2. So I can record with or without compression at the same time. So that's the point of that. So my speaker system, I'm using T5Vs all around. So I've got 13 of these T5Vs, 4 up ahead. Now they're kind of mounted in a strange way because they're on just lighting truss. When I set this up, it was like, how am I going to get these speakers on the roof? So essentially what I found was the easiest way was to just set up like a kind of temporary lighting structure that can support these speakers to be held there. I also hung the cloud from it, and then now the lighting. So I've always sort of felt that you need to be in a working space that inspires you. I think that's huge. So the look and feel of it has a lot to do with that. And I think, yeah, so this lighting system, it's super cheap. It's like just LEDs on my my sort of, so I've got one on my height speaker bar here, one on the rear as well, and they go down the poles as well. I'll just show you a couple of little examples. So I can just do this with a quick flick of the switch, whatever you feel like. I like to have it on a bit of a blend, so it's kind of red and purple. I think it's actually broken. So when I press blue, it goes blue on one side and red on the other side, which kind of is not supposed to do, but it's really, really nice. I can also do some crazy cool stuff like, you know, weird flashy stuff. But, you know, I don't really use that a lot. For when I'm recording or filming like this, I have got a lamp that's sort of sitting right here, which is quite warm. So that kind of gives me a bit of that sort of, you know, vibrance, I think, in the color. But yeah, what I do, I typically have white at the front and blue at the back, and that gives me this kind of scheme that you're looking at now. All this acoustic treatment as well is a sort of hodgepodge mix of stuff that I've bought from Prime Acoustic, some stuff up there, some stuff from a guy called Tom. I think he's called Verbox now. So Verbox made some of these panels, and then I also made my own panels up here. So I've got a book cabinet filled up with insulation, and then put some black fabric over the top. And then, yeah, I've built these other ones as well. So that one at the top there, I've actually built from scratch. These ones as well in the corners, those bass traps. One of them's got a frame and one of them does not. So I got these from a friend of mine who was just kind of getting rid of them. She didn't need them anymore. So thank you, Jay. And yeah, it's been super helpful to have those. This curtain is it's actually a walk-in wardrobe there, so I don't have any real need for that. So I've got a sort of heavy blanket kind of curtain that hangs there. Now my control surface here. This is a Icon V1M. Great deal of thought went into choosing which controller I was going to go with. I considered the S1s and the dock and all that cool stuff. There's so many good options. I went with this one though because it does have this sort of section here. So I don't know if you can see because of the glare, but essentially what this is a touchscreen that has multiple sort of bays there that you can totally program in whatever you want there. And then otherwise it sort of just works already with Logic. You don't have to really do anything. It comes with its own sort of pre-built presets, and then you can just add in your own and build things totally for what you do. I very much like Stream Deck. So I actually have a Stream Deck on an iPad right here. So the idea with my Stream Deck, what I tried to do here was go as broad as possible. So my first one is this. I mean, there's Logic, the Dolby Atmos Renderer, Album Assembler, Conversion Tool, DaVinci Resolve, all my interface and the controller software, everything I could ever need. I find myself using just getting to Finder is so easy, and I need that on every screen. So pretty much no matter what I'm doing, I need to get to Finder at some point, you know, or maybe Chrome, and I can just do that really quickly. So that's kind of really helpful. So this ends up being like a monitor controller as well. So here's my loopback control. So some of those functions include opening up Loopback itself, the app. I use Loopback as a sort of digital interface to send channels of audio across multiple different systems. So I can show you that in a second as well. But just here with the Stream Deck, if I go to Logic, if I open Logic, then it will actually automatically go to this Logic screen where I've set up all these key commands. Some exist in Logic already, and some I have built specifically to do things that I would like it to do using Keyboard Maestro. So that was my way of making things super fast and flexible. It's got all the main things there, but I've also included downmix tools to use within the renderer. I'm using Keyboard Maestro, like I said, to do that, and part of that is multiple clicks. It's basically when I click the stereo, it looks for the found image that is the Dolby Atmos Renderer with internal Logic. It then clicks the little drop down, selects stereo, and presses enter, all in one click of my finger here. So super easy, super easy. If I'm in editing mode, if I want to go into DaVinci Resolve, then I'll click this one. Now this gives me all my video stuff, you know, whether I'm editing, grading, whatever, all the main tools are there. And then, yeah, I've still got access to everything that I need. ChatGPT is a common one, obviously, and very much Finder is all kind of there still at my disposal. Finally, I've got system multimedia tools as well.
For advice, after.
There you go, that just press play on YouTube. So that's just like an easy pause and play kind of thing. If I'm listening to something on the computer through like Dolby Atmos or anything, Apple Music, Apple TV, anything like that, I'm doing it through loopback because I'm using the 18920, which is not a native Atmos device. So because it doesn't have 12 consecutive channels, I need loopback to do that. So essentially that's what it does. Here's loopback. This is my loopback session 714 pass through. So I've got my 12 channels coming in from 1 to the 8, which is my 7.1. Then the height channels are actually on the second interface on 13, 14, 15, 16. So here's my outputs from 1 to 8, and then from 13 to 16, that gives me my 12. When I sort of get the next interface, which will be the Aurea, probably from Audient, that will be all eliminated. This is it's sort of my own hybrid version of the Aurea's Stream Deck preset as well. So they kind of made one, and I then went a little further with it and created solos and mutes for every single channel, alongside groups, and all, you know, the reference, you know, master stuff as well, the dim, global volume up and down, mutes, and of course there's also presets for different channel modes as well. So that's pretty much everything with the Stream Deck. So over here, this is like my recording area. People sing or do ADR there. That's why the microphone is kind of to the side. They can sort of see the screen still. And the idea is that, yeah, I can, you know, record very low latency still, doing it through my patch bay as well. So I have a way to send straight from the mic pre in that third mult. I can send that directly to headphones. As well as a playback, you know, stereo channel as well to the headphones. And that's another reason why I have the mult there for 3 channels from the mic pre. So there's no latency, even though it's, you know, it's not like an HDX system or anything like that. I can do it straight analog before it hits Logic, and have playback still running for them. I also have it sort of set up here. So we've got analog 1, which is what I'm recording right now. Analog 2 is the compressed, as I said before, and then you've got playback 1 and 2 as well. So that can send out the normal headphone output of my interface, and that is after it hits, you know, focus right here. So there is a tiny bit of latency with that, although it's not too bad. So yeah, I can do it in either way, but yeah, typically I'll just do it straight analog. Sort of eliminating the need for an analog desk where you would do it that way. I used to do that, but now, you know, with mixing Atmos and everything, I really just needed the controller for the DAW, so that was much easier to do it this way. In Logic, I have a few external plugins and things like that as well that I use. You know, my backup system as well is sort of comprehensive in how I use my drives and all that sort of stuff. I can take you through a little bit of that right now. So my main drive, I've got a 12 terabyte main drive, which I sort of run all my sessions through. I've got another samples drive, which is just containing all samples, and it's like, you know, any video effects or you know, green screen elements that you can sort of put in, all that sort of stuff. I've got heaps of that, yeah, in a big library, always being added to as well as projects sort of come and go. I've got another drive which is sort of all the organizational stuff. It's all my business stuff. It's where I back up all the invoices and all that sort of thing. There's all my promotional work. In fact, this video would be saved on that drive. There would also be my podcast stuff, all of that. Anything marketing, anything sort of logos and promotional stuff, all gets saved onto that drive. And that's on its own thing. It's 5 terabytes. The 2 T7s. So I've got two 2 terabyte SSDs as well, T7s from Samsung. And they are basically just, they're roaming. They just move from project to project. I'll take them around with me. It's to wrangle camera footage from a shoot, or it's to go from one place to another place to, you know, move projects along if I'm transferring them from my computer to somebody else's computer and whatnot. So that kind of thing. I've got those two sort of ones that do float. Everything else, though, pretty much stays here. And finally, I've got a backup of all of that, which is significantly large, and I'll actually be sort of implementing more of a server approach pretty soon. Not for multiple computers as such, but more just for the extra space and maybe cloud backup too. But yeah, look, I think, drives do fail, and it's just not worth it to not have a backup. So that's going to be something that I'm going to be improving pretty soon. But for the most part, this has been working totally fine. Separate to that, the cloud space that I've got as well, I do use Google Drive and Dropbox. So Google Drive, I think I've got 2 terabytes. That's where I back up all the any like passwords and plugins and things like that, where you kind of need, licenses and things like that to get into. I back up all of that stuff onto the Google Drive. Dropbox, I basically just have to share projects, because people often send me links to Dropbox, and you have to have one to open it and things like that. So it's just easier to have a drive that's kind of never really used for anything other than just, grabbing files and transferring as I need to. So there's a bit of space on that as well, but I kind of don't use it for storing anything. It's just for moving files. The actual Macintosh HD, so that houses nothing but my plugins and software. So I don't really have any files that are ever stored on the desktop, or in downloads. I sort of go through that regularly to remove them, because I don't want that 1 terabyte to ever be sort of too full. I like it, if it's more than half full, I want to cut it down. And certainly my software doesn't need to do that. It's just so that it runs more efficiently and I don't have any problems or bottlenecks. So when I chose the Mac Studio, I decided that with a bit of research that 500 gig was probably not enough, or the 250. So I needed a terabyte of hard drive storage. And it's been really, really good. I don't think I'm ever going to need more than that, considering I've got these, separate drives that run everything else. So it's I think that works pretty good. As for the computer specs I've got, just in general, so it's an Apple M2 Max, memory 64 gigabytes. Obviously it's silicon, so it's all integrated into one chip. I'm running Sequoia right now, which is the current at the time of recording. It's been a great powerhouse computer. I can't say enough good things about it, to be honest. The only thing I can think of is when that hard drive does start to get a bit bulky, I just deleted like 300 gigabytes just in my downloads folder, like yesterday. So I think that made it slower. But other than that, it's a powerhouse. I can run complex, hundreds of tracks sessions with no problem in full Dolby Atmos, and it's not even worried. So in a recent episode of Beyond Stereo, the Dolby Atmos podcast, I was speaking to a new friend, Anthony Rodriguez, about where we sort of started, to do with tape machines and the old sort of recording way before we had things like this, and this is my 4-track tape deck that I used to use, and it was where I started. So this thing, I think it's from the 80s, maybe older. Essentially how it used to work is, you'd have 4 tracks and you've got the tape and it records. You can choose which sort of channel you want to use on that. And it's all bouncing down to the stereo sort of master that is the tape. You could record 3 tracks, and then I would bounce those 3 onto the 4th. And then that would be like a bus. But you couldn't undo that, essentially. As soon as you recorded on top of the other tracks to then, free them up and do more things, you would lose access to mix them. So you'd have to mix it as you're recording, and when you bounce it down to the 4th, that would be the mix, like that's staying that way. And then you'd add more things to that, and you'd want to make sure it's pretty right, because otherwise you can't change it again. And finally, that's kind of how I would build it. You could monitor with a few auxiliaries, you could play around with some outboard effects and things like that. Not that I had much of that, it was really just straight. So I was recording my full drum kit with one microphone. I would then do a bass line, do maybe a single guitar, maybe a stereo guitar, but I would have to like condense that and not really worry about panning. It was mostly mono, and then I would do my main vocal, maybe a harmony if I was keen for that, and then that's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tracks that I'd have to bounce down at least once then. And then years later, I actually digitized it. So how I did that was like I just grabbed the main outputs of the analog out and then recorded it into an interface. And it sounded like garbage. And I don't even have that anymore, so I'm sorry you're not going to be able to listen to it. But that that was an experience to listen to that. But that's where I started, and it was kind of my first early attempt of, getting this stuff to work, and it led me to here. Because, without that, I wouldn't have, progressed into what I'm doing now. So, really, really cool. I haven't always had this, is I guess what I'm sort of saying. It's certainly not out of, it wasn't an easy thing to get all this equipment, and you do it over a long period of time, of course. So a lot of this stuff is very modest, it's very affordable, it's very easy to run. I've kind of gone as far as I can go with a lot of it, but that's just a personal preference, and trying to do things on the cheap is always kind of a hard thing to do. So it's not like I can just go and get the most expensive thing. I've got to kind of find the most efficient, affordable way to make it kind of work. And if I can maybe DIY some stuff to get there, then I will do that. And a lot of the time, that's what I've done. And that's kind of like for example, the low latency monitoring. I found a way to make a simple TRS 48 point patch bay have mults. And I did that by sending the output of one on the rear to the next one, and then making it half normal so that it splits it out, and then I do it again and again, and that gives you 3 mult outs. So when you go in on the front, it's already splitting to the next one as well as the top, so you have multiple outputs. That was one way around that, right? To instead of having an actual unit to do that properly, I found a way. So things like that, this whole studio process has been finding a way until, I've had some pretty cool toys like this guy. When I finally got this in, this was like, okay, I feel like a superstar now, having a pretty cool controller in here that's, moving faders and all of the rest of the fun of that. And it's not like it's even that new or cool anymore. It's just necessity. But look, that was not a cheap thing to get. I forget exactly how much it was, but I think it was around $2,000. Just this one thing. The software that I've accumulated is probably multiple thousands of dollars. Every Furman that I have is a pretty affordable unit, but $250 each, and I have 3 of them. And then that's just to power everything. That's like a glorified power board with a bit of surge protection. But the reason I wanted it, because it's rackable. But it costs $250 to get a rackable power board. Crazy. But also the switch and the ability to just quickly turn everything on. And it's more than just powering it for me, because it's more organization. Being able to just go, I just need 5.1 on right now. I don't need everything on. Rather than wasting power, I'll just turn the 5.1 on. So I can do things like that now. Everything's pretty organized like that. Even to down to how I sort of position the speakers and things like that was all to fit within the room to make sure that it sort of worked. It's pretty accurate in terms of placement. I was able to get to Dolby spec pretty close. However, there are a few things that you just can't do in a house, So am I going to be Dolby certified? Probably not. But does it work for what I need to do? Absolutely. So that's all I care about. As for the Stream Deck stuff, that changed everything. That was like so much faster. And having this board as well made things a lot faster. Just, it's sort of, you get to a point where it's not a question of if you can do the thing. It's more about how fast you can do the thing and how efficient you can be. Just to make the day smoother and easier, less headaches. Also, the faster you can do the same hard thing, the more of it you can fit in a day. Therefore, more time equals more money you can make, I suppose, is one way to look at that. The other way, I suppose, is just that less headaches make you more creative, because you're not worrying about the tech so much. It all just works, and you can just do what you want to do. And yeah, as fast as your ideas come into your head, you can action them because the technology allows you to do that. So that's a huge help as well. And I suppose that's why I've got some things that are a little bit cool, a little bit techy, and very helpful. But it's not the main thing. I think it's can it be done first in an affordable way? I suppose if I had to price up all of this stuff cumulatively, it's probably, I would say it's between $60,000 and $80,000 in total. And that's including all the cabling, all the equipment that I tried, didn't like, found workarounds for, had to upgrade over time, multiple times, things like that. So here's another cool thing. So I've got my second iPad here. Now this is a really, really old iPad, and it's kind of like falling apart, but what I do use it for is Logic Remote. So if I have a Logic session up, I can just connect to my computer here, and then I've got the Logic Remote, which is super cool. Now I usually have that on a stand right where the microphone is. And that is so that the performer can adjust their own headphones, or they can sort of press play and stop when they want to, or if it's me doing it myself on my own projects, I can just do that without having to press play and quickly run over there. It just makes it a lot easier. There have been some times as well where I've recorded Foley or various things around the house, and I'll just quickly run out to the living room or something, and I'll have the iPad. I've got to set up a microphone or whatever, but I don't have to press play and then miss the cue or anything like that. I can see it in front of me, and I can just record quickly what I need to do, or record another track, whatever. All just out there. I don't have to come back in here constantly. So that's really helpful. So that's my second iPad, what that's sort of being used for. Finally, the last thing that I sort of do, my screens. These screens that I'm using, I have 3 screens. The main one that I'm sort of facing right above the camera there is a big TV screen. I believe it's a 55-inch actually. It's not too big, but it's perfect for where I'm sitting from here. And that's my main viewing screen. I do all my main work on that. It's super easy. Everyone can see it. I have another one here. It's a bit smaller, which is kind of like my secondary main screen. If I have the mixer open, or if I've got maybe a movie file that's playing alongside the session, I'll have that on my left. And that's nice and easy to do that. I can also have my third screen, which is a lot smaller. That's usually where I put the Dolby Atmos Renderer, something like that. Or maybe, additional tools, maybe Finder's just open, or I've got my emails just to check it alongside it. And then the iPad here as well can also use Sidecar, because it's all Apple products. I can use Sidecar to have a fourth screen if I really want to, which all I got to do is get out of Stream Deck and go to Sidecar, and it will just totally work as a fourth screen. So that's really easy. Sometimes I have the Dolby Atmos Renderer there, so I can have multiple things up all at once. Maybe my plugins over on the right, movie on the left, main mixer and editing sort of area in the center, and I've got my my renderer down here. So whatever needs to happen, I've got multiple sort of flexible options, which is really, really cool. So that's pretty much it. That's my whole studio. I really can't think of anything else to show you. If there's anything I've missed, or if anyone's got any questions, feel free to message me or reach out and ask about anything. I love talking about it. I love exploring all there is to know about studios and being creative and doing this fun stuff. I love what I do, and it is such a privilege to continue to work on people's creative projects, work with amazing like-minded people as well, and just have fun doing this stuff, because I think it really means a lot, that we put so much of our heart and soul into our projects, our work. It's sometimes really easy to forget that making this stuff and doing this for a living is a bit of a luxury. It's a bit of a special thing. Yes, it took a lot of work. Yes, it took a lot of time to get here, and it's certainly no coincidence. However, the fact that I'm able to do it and stay doing it is amazing. So I just really appreciate anyone who works with me, and we build incredible things together, and it's a lot of fun, and I just really appreciate it. It's awesome. So thanks for watching my studio tour. This is kind of like me just sharing my room and my little bedroom space here. I am pretty happy to say that everything that I've kind of set out to do with this space, even being in a home studio, has kind of come true to a pretty high standard. That wasn't always the case. There's certainly been bumps along the way. Over the past, let's go 6 or 7 years probably, doing this professionally, there's certainly lots of cool places to go from here, but there's not many bottlenecks now. There's not many drawbacks. So I'm very privileged to be in a space where I can just enjoy what I do and hit the mark that I want to hit and make amazing stuff with you guys. So just want to say thank you so much for watching, but also working with me and following along if you're just watching the videos or in any capacity that you can. It's awesome just to be part of this community, helping people do this stuff and sort of realize why it matters and why it's meaningful. You know, this is all art and subjective, creative stuff that we're trying to do here. And I think it's really, really important that people keep doing that. And if there's one thing that is sort of universally loved and appreciated and worth something, it's this creative drive and love for what we do that matters beyond all else. And if we keep that alive, then maybe we'll be all right. Anyway, that's a wrap from me, guys. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed the studio tour.